I see questions like this all the time on my social media, and I thought I would take a few minutes to talk about AFib, a-flutter, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, but in particular AFib. To those guys that don't know, AFib is when your heart races. It goes from 70 beats a minute, everything's fine, to 145 beats a minute, 200 beats a minute, in my case 225, 230 beats a minute. And it doesn't stop. It just sits there and it just rages inside of your chest. Now, depending on the severity of it, mine is pretty severe. So when I get it, it hits me. It might hit me at 140, 150, 160 beats a minute now because I'm on a whole bunch of medication. Well, not nearly as much as I used to, but I take medication to help control my heart. And again, I've gotten in the kind of shape that I've gotten into, and I've done the things to my body through the food that I eat and getting in shape to help mitigate what was something quite preposterous, 220 odd beats a minute. I'm talking 220 beats a minute for 17 hours. I'm talking 145 beats a minute for 4 days. And so when we get it, it is terrible and it's debilitating. Now, some AFib is from 70 beats a minute to 85, 90 beats a minute. Some is more severe than others, some is less so. But it is, I think, in a way traumatizing because the way that they treat you when you get it can be scary. I have talked to many a person who was a first-time AFib, just left the doctor in one case. Jerry, here's the story they told me. I saw your video because I looked up AFib, and you gave me hope. The doctor scared the hell out of me. It's not the doctor's fault. They're doing what they're supposed to. But it can seem much more onerous than it is. So in this case, I'll answer this question directly. The food that I eat, you can look on my videos, you can see the food that I eat, but I eat all protein and fat. So that is right now 97.5%, 98% of my diet. A couple of berries I have with a protein shake. Other than that, it's 100%. Well, I eat 2 protein shakes a day, and then the rest of it comes from fat and protein. And it's very, very high protein that I'm eating now. But the critical part for me in dealing with AFib that literally had me in the hospital 50 times from 2015 until 2022, 50 times, was getting in shape, changing the food that I ate. That's, for me, that's what it was. And so I can't tell you if moving from the classic American crappy diet to something that is less classic American crappy diet, all the way over to the carnivore diet or a vegetarian diet, I can't tell you if those will help. I don't have any idea. All I know is I went from the standard crappy American diet at 300 plus pounds and dying all the way over here to carnivore diet when I got my life back. And so that is what I eat, and that I believe had a huge part to play. The losing the weight and had a huge part to play, obviously, and I lost a lot of weight, 100 pounds. Losing the weight, and then the food that I ate, losing that weight, I think played a very critical and continues to play a very critical part in that. And then also mindset plays a tremendous part in that, and I'll come back to that part. And then water. And I drink 3/4 of a gallon to a gallon. In my case, I drink a gallon every day. People will say that's too much. I don't listen to that. I drink a gallon a day. I have for 3 years now, and I've got my life back the way that I have. But again, I'm 6'4", 240 pounds. So I don't want, people that are 5'8" and 160 pounds thinking they got to run out and drink a gallon of water. 3/4 of a gallon to a gallon. I get comments all the time about it's too much water. I'm sitting here in front of you. Do I look unhealthy? No. So I think being hydrated has been critical. The 2 times that I went into AFib in the last 3 years had to do with me going too hard in 95% humidity and 102 degrees down in Destin, Florida. So I had pushed too hard. That means too many miles. I did 4 miles in the morning and 4 miles at night, and I simply did not drink because I was on vacation as much water as I should have. Boom, in hit AFib. So I think that over drinking your water is a very important step towards mitigating what in my case was very, very severe, unstoppable AFib. When I say unstoppable, in a 4-year stretch, I was cardioverted 10 times, In 1 year, I was cardioverted 6 times, 2017, and in one night, I was cardioverted twice. To give you an idea, cardioverted, boom, to give us everybody an idea of how bad my AFib was. And so those changes I made, water, food, exercise, and then ultimately the type of food that I eat, losing the weight, drinking the water, and ultimately the mentality changed my life. Mentality. This is probably the biggest one. This is going to sound egotistical. It's going to sound like I'm bragging. It's fine because I guess in a way I am. But I have to answer the question truthfully and honestly, and that is that nothing was going to stop me from getting better. Nothing. In my life, I've had that experience where nothing's going to stop me from getting better. And so nothing's going to stop me from improving, from going from where I started and ended up where I am. And I fought my way the whole way. I struggle with losing. I don't do very well when it comes to losing. I am hyper competitive. But when it came to my health and me figuring out that it was time for me to live again at 52 years old in 2022, it was time for me to do something about my health and fix it, then I was all in. And regardless of what was wrong with me, I was going to do it. So is AFib debilitating? Yes. I get the question, Jerry, how do you go all of the time and do these workouts? The second I start walking, I go into AFib. I have worked out many a day. I have exercised many a day. I have walked many a day in AFib. I just did. I just do. If it hit me now, I do. I had to push through that. Maybe I didn't push as hard in the early parts until I lost the weight. And I think that probably played a significant role, so that all I did is walk and lost weight rather than start to lift weights, walking, dieting correctly, and then losing weight. And by that I mean I think lifting weights can inspire AFib much quicker than walking or exercising that way. At least that was my experience with my severe AFib that I suffered from for years and years. And so the mindset, though, where I was going to get better, no matter what, meant that I would sacrifice the food that I ate, how much of that food I ate. I would suffer while I went through and converted over to this carnivore diet. I would suffer by going and walking. I broke my back when I was a kid, when I was 19 years old, so I've had pain. I was addicted to opioids. I had to deal with all of that. Everybody knows the story, but all of it ties together to say that I decided it was time for me to live, and nothing was going to stop me from doing that. And so we use AFib as an excuse all of the time. And if I can be any kind of example to anyone out there, that example would be that I just didn't let it stop me. I refused to. I wasn't going to be scared of it. I refused that. I was just going to push through. And any thoughts to the contrary that came into my head, I simply fought them and as best I could push them out. Now, that doesn't mean I was successful all the time, for sure. Many a time I was in the middle of a lift pushing that weight back up in 2014, 15, 16, only to have to put it down and leave the gym 240 beats a minute full AFib. And it might last for 2 days. It might end me up in the hospital again 50 times, either in the emergency room or put into the hospital overnight in a 5-6 year stretch. I mean, really something significant. A lot of hospital time, next to none over the last 3 years, I should point out, as I lost the weight. And so my encouragement to everybody is, if you want to fix it as best you can, or make it less intrusive or make it manageable in your life, less intrusive in your life, is to get in shape. Plain and simple, period. And get in shape means, number one, nothing stops you from eating the food that you should in the quantities that you should in order to lose weight. So you go, Jerry, I can't walk because of the AFib. I can't go to the gym because of the AFib. The AFib doesn't force you to eat or drink things that you're not supposed to in the quantities that you shouldn't. So that's step number one. I looked at it and said, because of countless doctor appointments and heart surgeries and having gone through all of the tests and all of these machinations in and out of the hospital 50 times, I looked at it and said, I have to fix me Number one. Number one, I have to be fixed. And in order for me to even figure out if there was anything wrong with me, after being told for years what the issue was and what the fix to that issue is, as it is being read out of the book to me the way that it had ever since the AFib showed up when my hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, my 40% block in my left ventricle showed up when I was 38 years old, I said, I got to stop listening. I got to stop it. And I got to go back to a baseline. So I just got to go lose weight. And I lost 306 pounds, 309 pounds at the time. And I lost a total of 103 pounds over. I've since put on about 25 pounds as I've muscled up and work out at the gym every single day. But going to that baseline, as soon as I did that, the pain in my back went away that I'd suffered from 25 years and was addicted to opioids on. The AFib went down significantly. Like I said, I've had it 2 times in the last 3 years. After having it 50 times, oh no, that's admitted to the hospital. Probably had it, 75, 80, 100 times at 240 beats a minute. The previous 6-7 years. I mean, really, really significant AFib, life-threatening, go in the emergency room. The room is packed. I walk in, I'm like, my heart rate's 240 beats a minute, I'm in AFib. And 2 seconds later, and I mean 2 seconds later, I jumped that line more times than I can tell you. Because when you walk into an emergency room with a heart rate at 240 beats a minute, you get people's attention real quick. You walk in the hospital room with a heart rate or hospital emergency room with a heart rate at 145 beats a minute, you're going to catch somebody's attention real quick. So that because you're in trouble. Something bad is about to happen, and the doctors know it, and you can't be sitting out in that room. They got to get you in there. They got to get you on an EKG. They got to get some diltiazem flowing into your veins, maybe throw you on some amiodarone, and get ready to zap you, if need be, to try to bring this sucker under control. There's a whole bunch of meds coming your way. Your blood pressure's got to be monitored so it doesn't drop too low. Hello, 50 over 30. Yeah, you want to talk about a bunch of meds right here. Trying to manage the amount of medicine they're putting into you to slow that heart down and try to get it back into that normal sinus rhythm without obviously stopping your heart. Been there, done that more times than I can count. And so for me, it's just get up the next morning and push and go through it again and get up the next morning and push and not let it get me down. Back to the mindset. Mindset for me fixed it because it gave me that intestinal fortitude to be able to push through and make happen what I needed to make happen in getting my health back. So now what's my day like today? To all you guys suffering from AFib, a-flutter, that have these issues, that see my videos, I take a couple of pills a day. I take a blood thinner. I take another medicine to help control the blood pressure. I have no blood pressure issues, but these are better safe than sorry, and I agreed to take them. I hate pills. I don't take any cholesterol medicine. I don't do anything like that, but I take a drug to control my heart rate. My heart rate beats at about 73 beats a minute on average. We control it down to about 60, 63 beats a minute on average, just so it beats a little bit less. I've got a 40% block. Blood can coagulate underneath that blockage. My ejection fraction, that is the amount of blood that is pushed out of my heart, is 25 or 30 points lower than what it should be. So I'm not getting all that blood flow. So I have a med to control that heart. I have a med to thin that blood so I don't get the coagulation and it causes a stroke. And then I take one to control the blood pressure, although I could probably come off of that. That's just a safety measure. So I take that happily and freely. I used to take 19 pills a day. I used to take hundreds and hundreds of milligrams of these tablets. I now take 25 milligrams of one. I take 5 milligrams of another one, and I take 50 milligrams of another one. It used to be hundreds, and now it's next to nothing, relatively speaking. And that's because I have added 25 pounds of muscle on my frame from 53 years old to 50. I just turned 56 last week. That has been significant. My movements are easier. I get out of bed easier. I go to bed easier. I get on the ground. I stand up easier. I used to stand up, hand to God, true story. I would go to the bathroom and I'd stand up off the toilet and my wife would find me on the ground passed out. Can't see anything. Swimming in a dark swimming pool. That's what I would call it. Reaching out, she would tell me I'm reaching for whatever I can, trying to stand up, but my eyes are shut. Have you ever been in a pool at night in the dark? You don't know which way's up, left, right. That's what it feels like. You're just floating. And that's what happened to me. Standing up off of the toilet with my pants around my ankles, bam, right on the ground. More times than I can count. Stand up to run to the bathroom real quick. It's commercial time on television. You just forget. So I would stand up and I would run to the bathroom, and she'd hear me head first into the wall, down into the hallway. Again, arms reaching out, trying to catch myself as I drift in a swimming pool. Not enough blood in my head. So I've dealt with it about as bad as anybody probably has or has to in the past, or in my past. And so hopefully that gives some people perspective. Number one, about if you're suffering from an AFib that's 90 or 95 beats a minute, it's not the end of the world. There is much worse out here, number one. But number two, regardless, if yours is as bad as mine was, let's get it fixed. And you can't count on anything they tell you until you have fixed yourself. Everything they're doing is Band-Aids. Everything that you're going to do to get yourself in shape and healthy and add muscle and lose weight and eat the right foods is probably, if your experience is like mine, going to be your only answer. After battling it for a decade and a half, this turned out to be the only answer for me. I just came back from the gym, just making this video straight from the gym. I go to the gym 6-7 days a week. I walk, run 4 miles, 2 to 4 miles every single day. I've done 5 half marathons in the last 2 years. I lift 6 days a week, heavy. I'm unstoppable. I feel unstoppable, and I couldn't feel better. I want that for all of you guys, and I hope, while I know this sounds self-serving, this video encourages you guys that are suffering from this to go out and do the things you need to do to get it fixed. Because I promise you, people, I promise you, if you heard my story, any part of what I just told you, you can understand the nightmare that I was living. And I have never been in better shape or felt better in my adult life post 35 years old. My AFib and my a-flutter and my hypertrophic cardiomyopathy showed up when I was 38. So let's say 38 years old. That's what it did. And that worked for me. Opportunities are everywhere. You got to go get them. I hope this helps. Go for a walk. And feel free to reach out to me should you have any questions. I'm happy to help.